Today on the Eye of Power, it's my great pleasure to welcome Bill Wilson to the show. Bill is the creator of People's Windows and Bath. He's got his own business, been at it for quite some time. But that's not all. He's got a sales system that's personality based with a book that he wrote on it, which is called Master Virtue, Master Selling. We'll talk a little bit about that. He's an accomplished musician, fantastic singer, frontman, songwriter. Got a lot of things that you could check out. I'll put some links in the description for on those. But he's kind of a person that really lives authentically, puts his passion into work and to manifest. And of course, that's what we're all about here at the Eye of Power. So I thought Bill would be a fantastic person for us to learn from today. So let's welcome my friend Bill Wilson to the show. Welcome to the Eye of Power podcast. I'm your host, Tom Dardick. But this podcast is not about me. It's about you and your power. It's time to claim yours. Well, thanks for joining me, Bill. I appreciate it. Full disclosure, Bill and I are pretty good friends. I consider Bill one of the best humans I've ever met. So that's something that I want the audience to appreciate. And I'm very, very happy to have Bill Wilson on the show with us today. You're an example of somebody who lives authentically, who leans into the possibilities of the future. You don't let the current things hold you back. You're willing to look in the mirror, to grow, to invest in people, all those various things. And that's a lot about what we talk about in the Eye of Power. So I appreciate you being on, and I think people are going to learn from you. So thank you.
Thank you. I return all that to you just as a mirror because I feel exactly the same.
Oh, well, thanks, thanks, Bill. So anyway, let's tell a little bit of your story. Again, just by way of introduction, you're an accomplished musician, accomplished businessman, have accomplished in the way of family and friends. You've created a sales system and a book around that we'll get into. So you're kind of a Renaissance man type of guy. You go where your passions are. Walk me through a little bit of maybe a couple of the high points that have marked your journey along this way, Bill.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do that in some way.
What are some of the things that resulted in you creating a successful business that helps people with their windows and their insulation and that sort of thing?
Baths, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the driving force for me, if I had to try to put my finger on it, is just I grew up in a kind of a lower class family that my father died when I was young. I was 11, and just a brother and a mother, and that's it. And we kind of lost our way. That was 1974, and I was 11. And I just knew that worked at a factory. My whole family worked at a factory. And I just thought, I don't want to work at a factory. And I don't know if that's good, bad, or whatever, but that life just seemed to be trading my time, which is very valuable. Everybody's time is valuable, for dollars. And I just thought my father was kind of an inspirational figure to me, even though he never jumped out into the world and did that. He was a factory guy and a salt of the earth and loved him dearly. But I just always felt like, why have these I guess at a certain age, you look around you and you go, what do these people actually have that I can't have? You know, what is it about them that makes them successful? And I'm relegated to this thought of I come from where I am. I got to be where that's my place. I never accepted that. It sort of created I think, a lot of drive and determination in me, and also a lot of arrogance, especially early on. I think just like I don't listen to anybody. Everything, all the bad. That's bad too. So find your own path. But the good news is, if you do beat your own path for a while and you kind of believe in that, I think it has great advantages. And why settle? I often tell people, if I am in an interview in my job and I ask, what do you want to make? And they tell us, I always say, why would you let somebody like me define you? Why would you say you're only worth that job? Well, that's maybe not with us. If there's incentives, maybe you need to do is focus yourself on those and basically just thumb me off, because I should not be able to tell you what you're worth. I never felt that. Never felt anybody to do that either. So
Well,
there's a
there's
lot of
a
things. I mean, as you go through the process,
going back to roles in organizations, when you're talking to an executive or HR, they're looking at ranges, right? Because there's like a conventional wisdom, there's a
that's right.
normal distribution. So they're looking at, okay, look, a coder for this particular industry makes $75,000 to start. We're going to offer a generous $78,000 or whatever it might be. And they have this paradigm of a dollar commoditization of the role. And it's, what I hear you saying is, look, there's a potential of a person, and yeah, there's a dollar for the role, but you're saying that there's space between that and what the person represents as a value equation themselves. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, but I think to get to maybe parse that a little bit more, there are people who go to school for those things, and that's what they want to do, and they find their happiness in doing the thing they want to do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not about money. It's not about I could earn more. I've got to get the most. It's really about your own person. I could probably do things that might be worth a little bit more. Now, again, it's an arrogant tone because who am I? But I have to believe in it because if I don't, who does? So I have to think that the choices that you make where you are. And that's where I think everything in the big picture, and I know we've talked about this before, and your programs are so detailed, which are amazing. I mean, I'm just so floored by the amount of effort and work you put into it. But I think if you had to distill most things that come down to success and failure, let's say, it comes down to your level of accepting personal accountability.
Yeah.
Because when you hit that crossroad, are you go this way, or if you go one way, you are protecting your ego. You don't want to be hurt. You don't want to hear the bad news. The bad news is going to hurt me. I worked so hard. Why would I want to hear bad news? So you sort of shut it out and you go, no, no, no. Right? Side goes, well, tell me about that. Whether I agree or not, I would like to hear your view, and maybe I'm going to learn something from there. You don't just learn things from people who you perceive as higher than you. You can learn things in life from anybody, and
Sure.
you'd be shocked where you can learn great wisdom. So if you're open to that information, you're not threatened by that, then you could actually look at yourself in the mirror and go, okay, I'm good with me. And so give me the more, give me the other keys. It distills down to a person's willingness and openness to accepting personal accountability for what goes right and wrong. And think of them not as so much defining points, but just check-in points.
You identified a drive, Bill, as saying, "Look, I'm not going to allow somebody to define me. I'm going to define myself." That brought you in the direction of maybe entrepreneuring, or perhaps like a commissioned kind of scenario where you get to knock something over the head and drag it
Yeah.
back to the cave. Talk about how you got to be the owner of people's products.
Well, no matter where I started, I ended the same place. It was just, I think, in me to be driven in that way. But I happened to, my uncle worked as they used to call him phone solicitor. Telemarketer is probably an outdated term now, but the job was being on the phone and calling strangers and getting appointments for your sales staff. So I took a summer job at a place in Newington, Connecticut, and I wound up being there for a while. I left, I came back, and I was hoping to become a manager there. I happened to be pretty good at getting the appointments they needed. I've never seemed to run out of words, at least in those days. And it just worked. And so I worked my way up, and eventually I just said, what would stop me from doing this myself? I'm making someone else money, and that's great, no problem. I never begrudge that. Great entrepreneurship, fantastic. But what would stop me from being that person? So it's funny, the uncle who I just mentioned, who just recently passed away,
Ah,
fantastic guy. But we were on a break. We were working together that summer, or one of those summers. I was there a couple years, and I said, "I'm thinking of starting my own business. What are you going to do?" Well, like this. I like the one we're working at. He goes, "Well, what if you fail?" And I said, well, "What if I succeed?"
yeah.
And he just stopped, and he goes, "Okay." That was the checkpoint. To some folks, and my uncle was salt of the earth man, best guy I ever met in my life. But sometimes we just think in that box. We consider failure, we even think about success. And why are we shortchanging ourselves when we do that? Because that's sort of that's a self-administered wound.
I think part of that, what if you succeed? It's easier to maybe ask that question when you have both the drive and the confidence. So you just said earlier, Bill, that you kind of had that drive already. That was natural. Why not me? But you also had experience where that built confidence, where you were able to get people to accept appointments and coach people to get better jobs or do better at getting appointments. So
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
building an evidential trail to support
Mhm.
the notion that, yeah, I can do this.
Right, exactly. Well, the more success you have, the more you look back and say, I got that's in the bag. I have that. Now let's go to the next thing. And you try to grow into that. I just know this. I felt like my dad believed in me, but I didn't know if anybody else did. You know what
Okay.
I mean? So after he passed, I didn't have my support team. So I was kind of fighting the idea that, and I love my mother. She's the best woman ever. She's since gone too, but I didn't. She wasn't as in tune, let's say, as my dad was with me. And so I think I had to overachieve in order to just be seen. You know,
Mhm.
and unfortunately that carries on to today. That same drive, even though I'm not aware of it, it's aware of me. So I'm not as practical as probably most people are.
That made it so that striking out on your own, was just kind of natural to you? It felt natural?
It felt natural because that was the tide I was swimming against. It's like when nobody believes in you. I mean, I don't want to say what was me. I think I had a great family. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when I felt like the primary believer was gone, I felt like I had something to achieve. No, at first, no one else was noticing that, and I felt a little bit invisible. So I just felt like I needed to do more. And then I looked at the people that were guiding me, and I'm thinking, well, I don't want to do what you do. I'm glad you like it, and it's wonderful, but I'm just not cut out for that. I think I'm basically unemployable.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
know the feeling.
I kind of have my own way. You know that feeling? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a job since
It's
1994, so
there you go.
and
Exactly.
and I
Yeah,
don't really
yeah.
want the reason
80s.
for that is I didn't want one, right? Once you get the idea of being your own thing, it's hard to go backwards.
Hard to go back. It really is. But it's also what feels natural. Like some people are really afraid of taking a chance.
Yeah, exactly. It's not universal. I agree with
And
that.
and and if they're afraid of taking a chance, what is it that stops them? And I often thought about that. So what stops a person from taking a chance? Why don't you throw away a little bit of the practical and throw a little caution to the and just do something? Just you have
Yeah.
one life, right? And as we get older, we realize how short that time actually is. We have one life. Why would you not use it doing everything that you want to do?
Let's go there for a second. What's your answer to that question? What do you think people's answer is? Why wouldn't they just lean in? Like you said, you got this one chance, whatever it
Yeah,
is. It's 40
yeah,
years, 60 years, 80 years, 100 years, whatever it is. This is what you
yeah.
got.
That's what you got.
Why compromise it? What do you think people's answers to that is?
Some people never go. They're in the straight and narrow. They're okay with being on the kind of the conveyor belt of standard living. Just that's what you do. You start here, you go there. It's all people just are comfortable. Comfort, I think, is the challenge because comfortable is what we try to achieve, right? Even through nature, as you've said to me a number of times, we're make things um, easier for ourselves. That's the purpose of like cutting a neural pathway in your brain. So next time you do it, it's a little bit easier. We're wired that way to make things easier. So we want it easy. But is it really easier to be someone else's idea of life at the sacrifice of at least exploring your own? Can you explore your own? Is there something there? I don't think my mom had anything else there. I think my mom was a wonderful person, but that was getting that up at the factory and just working there and being there every day and putting her heart and soul into it. That was success for her. And I don't begrudge that one bit. I think that was wonderful. My dad was a cartoonist, but you would never know it because he was an inspector. That he did for money, but he's a great cartoonist. He had all these books and characters. Not to go off too much on that, but just to say, you got somebody with a lot of imagination making a widget. Nothing wrong with that. We need those damn questions about that. But if looking to expand, which is part of what I know your focus is, should we at least at one point in life say, is there something I really would like to do that I'm afraid to do? I think it's coming to terms with reality. Reality is personal accountability, right? If you can say, I don't do it because of this, I'm insecure because of that, and you can face that, you can convince yourself, and that's the power we have. And I don't know, I see it that way, but I don't think a lot of people see it that way. So I don't know. I think you might see it more like that because you're totally entrepreneurial.
Well, I feel like we are well served when we follow our passions. If you're thinking about something, if something dwells in your mind, you feel an attraction for that. I don't think it's accidental. I think there's purpose behind that.
Some,
So so I think it's good to lean into that. And again, you're a person who does that. I mean, I'd say a lot of people who have your natural and acquired talent in music would just want to make that their main career, just be a professional musician. Some people, if they thought that, then anything less than that would be seen as a failure.
yeah,
Whereas I'll
yeah,
invite people to go look, go out on YouTube, search for Last Licks, and look at any of the performances they have on there, and tell me that that's a failure. I'm gonna
but
differ.
I love my band members are it's rather are friends, and they're all very talented people. I'm lucky to be working with them. Frankly, they are really talented. They're off the charts talented. But and it serves a purpose. I would say we're a really good cover.
Yeah.
It's not an original project. I have other
Right.
projects
Well,
that are
if you
original
want
projects. I'm
originals,
also been writing and
yeah, if you want originals, I would tell people to go on Spotify and check out LGM.
Project LGM. Yeah, that's a CD we put up. Different, same drummer, but different people. But it was fun. It was just a fun project we did. We're thinking about doing another, but our schedules just don't coincide to do that right now. But I'm entertaining a couple things that are going on with outside bands as well, and I may be trying some things out, just trying my wings on a few things. A couple recording projects, and not to get too far ahead or talk too much about it, but I am putting right now. I'm putting together a release for next year of something, and I'm trying to get all the people that I loved in the Connecticut, and these are some real killer players on this thing. And so far, I'm batting 1,000. Everybody said yes. So we'll see what happens. See if the tracks come
Cool.
back to me or not. But what I like about it is that's a dream project. And all the people that I used to see as a kid that made my jaw drop, the people I'm asking to work on this, and I've been very fortunate they've been receptive. And I
That's
wrote, this is the last thing I'll say, is I wrote a rock opera back in 2003, which sat in demo form for the last 20 years. Because I work less in my business. My son-in-law is taking over my business and improving it vastly, since he's a great entrepreneur and he'll do an amazing job. People's windows and baths plug. But that frees up more of my time to get to recording the rock opera, which also is about bringing in a lot of voices, a lot of people that I know, which I like, that community of musicians. It's sort of, that's the fun part. Sitting in my studio by myself all the time does not appeal
mm,
touch me. In the creative stage, yes. In the Like when you come over and you sit behind my kit and we play, I have a blast. Your
mm.
brother, same thing. He comes over and we're just killing it. We just have, whether we're having fun, right? We're having a lot of fun. I think it's good.
Absolutely.
I like that part of music. I don't get enough of that in the cover band. Anyway, I'll bring the floor back to you. I'm sure you have directions
No,
you'd
no,
like to
this
take, right?
well, again, this is passion. To me, the joy of music is part of that musical conversation. If you're covering a tune, you're connecting to the art of somebody else and shared
Yeah.
experience with the associates with the song. You play a
Yep.
song that people love and want to hear. They're very joyful, and you're giving them that gift, and there's a wonderful dynamic there, and that's fantastic. You're no matter what you do, your voice is in there, so it's still your art. Yet I see more of the free form of, like you were just pointing to, where we're just sort of playing. That's more like a conversation, and that's sort of more intimate amongst the people that happen to be doing it. So they're different dynamics, and it's all beautiful, it's all
Yeah.
music, but it's a part of ourselves. Whether it be, you mentioned your dad with being a cartoonist, we have this sort of drive to create. It can be entrepreneurial, it can be in art, it can be in creating relationships. Whatever that creative force of there, before there was nothing, now there's something. And when we're
Right.
doing it
Yeah.
well, there's something that has beauty. That drive towards beauty, I think, is one of the deeper elements of being human that we all share. And part of that
Yeah.
authenticity is recognizing what that is within and letting that come to manifestation.
And like you said before, we're not all the best. I'm certainly not the best at anything. I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best front man. I'm not the best looking guy. I'm not the best voice. I'm not, I don't, we all have, we're not the best, but get out there and do it. Somebody will like it. And the most important thing is that you like it. The reason why I think that Licks works from my perspective, and I'm not speaking of the other musicians, which is probably the real reason why Licks works, but I feel like when we're up there, we're in our own world, and people are to that room, and they see this camaraderie, this musical camaraderie that happens. And it's the same thing as when you're over and Greg's over. You guys are great musicians to sit behind your instruments and play for a while. You have to love what you do first, so other people can love it too. You can't put on an act, I guess what I'm trying to say when it comes to art. And it's easy to criticize. I'll just say this last part, but when you mentioned the canvas, right? Well, it's like a blank canvas. It's easy to criticize a song when you're a song, or a book when you read a book, but that person started with a blank canvas and put something on there for you to criticize. So there's somebody's stuff is in there. And I think you look at from that angle, the human angle, like you got something there. It might not be the best thing you ever heard or the best thing you ever read, but it's to be celebrated and appreciated for what it is.
Yeah, it's funny because when we put metrics on, we say it best, right? Or it has to be good, or it has to be we have a grading scale, we're comparing. And part of what we talk about in the Eye of Power there is that idea of comparing and making sure we're using the right metrics.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's always going to be in Star Wars, they say there's always a bigger fish, right? There's always a bigger something. And so if we're saying we're going to be the best, that's a drive. That's something to go for. I don't, like you said before, when you're talking about just laying out the land of possibility for people, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But what no one can take away from any of us is you're the best you. No one can be what
Yeah.
you are. So if you can just express the full version of yourself, it will resonate with somebody, because there's other people that that are going to feel what you feel, walk with your, like there's a universality to our experience. And so we can tie into that.
They're going to connect to it, or they're going to identify with it somehow. They're going to be inspired. If you're a leadership role, you're inspiring those people to that message, which I think is what you do very well, I might add. So I think you have a great ability to inspire other people to think in an elevated way, but you do it with kindness. Never seen it before done the way you do it. I'm really behind your projects because I know there's something very real, very well researched, well thought out, and handled with great care. Every business that considers hiring your company to take on, the camaraderie of their group, or how to build a network of people, that work in sync, I don't think they can do much better than what you're offering on that. Seriously.
Well, thanks for that, Bill. Appreciate it. It just comes from some of these groundwork kind of things that we're talking about, right? Where it's, look, you're a human being. Like, you could be the leader of 20,000 people, or you could have a team of two, or you're the sole soldier of a team of one. The dynamics don't change in the sense that what's real is real. You made a good point earlier about you're going to bump up against reality. No matter what, that's the thing you're going to bump up against.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? That means that you need to be open to the signals, what reality tells you. That's why we start in the pain quadrant, for instance, in the Eye of Power. Pain is our friend. It's telling us something needs attention here. When we try to, let's say we try to distract ourselves with entertainment or food and drink or whatever it might be, maybe we're trying to say, la, 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 I don't want to listen to reality itself. And then we lose our
Yeah.
power.
That is absolutely right. Dead on. Spot on. Absolutely.
And another thing you inspired me to think also, Bill, is this creative thing whether it be in music or art. It's true in the entrepreneurial world too, because there the canvas is people and the value equation, and what you're
Yep.
doing that like you're creating something that's providing something that no one else can do. And yeah, we can commoditize things. We can say, oh, I'm a realtor, I'm a builder, I'm a driver, I'm a what, at times all the professions there are. But yeah, there's other people that do what you do, but not the way you do it.
Right, right. So it's unique. You bring something unique to the table. Here's another thought too. Like when you're young, when I was young, I gravitated to music probably because it was an easy thing to do. I loved it, and so I had a bass, had a piano at the house, and played around. Not very good, I might add, but at the same time, I gravitated to that. So all I wanted to do, if you knew me in high school, all I wanted to do was make it in music. Now, as I think about that today, whoever wants to phrase or the term "life's a journey, not a destination," that person deserves a free weekend in Ibiza, because that is so true. maybe one of the truest things you'd say. How do you whether you're on the right track? Because what does making it feel like? Like when you're, let's say from a musician standpoint, you make it, right? So you, what does that mean? You have a number one song, a number five song, a number 10 song, more than once, you have it twice. You never make it, you never do what you tour. What makes you driven to do what you do? The rest is just sort of, it's your perspective. It's what you think it is. So I think making it's a journey. Make sure the journey brings you where you want to be. I know people who have many millions of dollars from being in business, and I've seen happier people. So did they make it? Well, if a piece of paper with a dead end is your way of gauging that, then they made it. But are you ready to be over? I mean, is your life complete? Are you done? Because I just think, well, it has to be a journey. And every time you hit a goal, the only thing that I think is a really focused thing to do is assess it, appreciate it, celebrate it briefly, a couple pats on the back, and then set another goal and do it as quickly as possible. Because if you sit on that goal, you got nowhere to go but down. You're already at the apex. You never want to be there. So keep on pushing. So the drive is information. The drive is learning. The drive is camaraderie, relationships, all kinds of relationships. It's connection, which could be music, art, conversation, all the above. But if you tune out to that stuff, you had enough. In a political world where, if I get milk at the store, I'm bound to hear somebody's political view. I'm not into that. I want to hear somebody's political view. I just want the milk. You know what I'm saying? So I think when in that kind of world, everybody's in their bubble, their box. You can't talk to someone who thinks differently than you because these other people from these strange ones tell you that you're in this box, you're in that box. I don't believe in the box. That's what I'm saying. In my rock opera, I talk about the box, and it's funny because that's from over 20 years ago. But the box is in the way you think, and that's one of the things I love about taking the rock opera up again, because it's called Cythelia, and it's about positivity. So it's kind of the opposite of the wall, I guess. It's got, it would be the message I would prefer.
That's cool. I can't wait. I can't wait for that to come to fruition.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So
That's
Tom,
cool.
you're a great inspiration to me. You're a great
Oh.
inspiration. Every time I see you, you've got something new you're working on, and they're all brilliant ideas. I think people need to catch on to what you bring to the table is sincere, and the level to which you can help a company or an individual is immense. Really, people have to look up Tom Dardick. He's not only this guy right here, but he's also an author, right? You have sudden honest.
Yeah, last week
you wrote with your brother, right?
Yeah, last week I actually talked a little bit about that on the podcast. It was the name of the episode was "For Those About to Write, We Salute You." So I was talking about the writing journey, which actually might be a good segue for us to go into your writing journey. And I think it's a great brand because it's master virtue, master selling, and what you do there, just in the title, is you equate character with the net result of influencing somebody to make a high quality decision. And sales, the profession of sales, if we would do a survey and ask 100 people, salesmen, positive or negative, I'm guessing we'd get more negative than positive.
A friend of mine says you should just Google sales rep and look at what comes up. You'll be shocked. You can't be that person.
So right. Yeah, but the act of selling and the act of sales is the most noble thing. It's getting people connected to the thing that they most want, that they don't know right? So it should be noble, but it's compromised or it's bastardized because of the lack of virtue, right?
Well, I think having been in sales a long time, I've run across a lot of characters in the selling business. And I think, and it's going to sound counterintuitive to people that are, hardcore salespeople. But the fact is, you can't be in it for the money. You can't be in it for what you get out of it. You better be sincere about what you bring to the table, and you better be improving something. Otherwise, what is the point of this? Apple products, for instance, they cost a fortune. They're so much more expensive than Windows, but I'll never buy another, non-Mac computer because they're so good. They're worth it. What's your value proposition? And you have to be able to get that out. So it's turned into, by virtue of Zig Ziglar, who's the renowned great sales master, and he's phenomenal. But he came up with a system that I think a lot of people like Rick Rosso and others have added to, which the things you need to accomplish in each step, because they've got it down to a psychological model. We use it too. But underneath it, the core of that, the operating system of those steps, which let's call them the programs, the operating system has to be a genuine desire to. And if you don't have that, you're going to fall short and you're going to have to say something that isn't true. And I couldn't do that, when selling lie to people, I couldn't do that. That wouldn't be for me. I wouldn't like that job.
Could you just repeat that, Bill? The genuine desire, and then it broke up a little.
Yeah, the genuine desire to help people has to be there. That's the operating system behind it all. Because if it isn't that, then you're going to run into a wall where the only way you're going to be able to sell is things that need to be said that you think they need to hear, and you don't mean any of it. And it's a short-term thing. You make a sale, and that's like you make a hit or something like think of a mob hit. You made a mob hit. You made a hit. You made a sale, but it's not really a good sale. You know what I mean?
Right.
You just mow people down. You could do that. I don't recommend it. I think it's a horrible way to be in sales. And to some people without a conscience, that might be success. I think it's a terrible way to sell. Yeah. So I would say virtue is super important in sales because virtue is centered to life. It's centered to truth in relationships and the truth behind how you see the world. That's all virtue. And it doesn't mean you're perfect. I'm certainly way not perfect, and I'm nowhere near perfect. So, but like everybody else, work in progress and hoping I'm going in the right direction. I feel like I am. I sleep well at night. My customers seem to be mostly pretty happy, and the employees are good, and people around me, your health, friends, musicians, seem to be okay. You get through.
We get into some of the kind of the cliched things. It's very easy because this is just basic truth that we talk about often, where people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If you're slick and you can talk a lot and you know your stuff, that's good, but that's not the same thing as virtue. And you kind of answered one of my questions there when you said the genuine desire to help people. That's maybe table stakes, right? In terms of getting there as far as the virtue related to sales. Are there other components you'd like to highlight, Bill?
I think again, it comes right back to the same thing I said before. And when you are at the juncture and you're faced with it, some people don't even know they're being faced with it when they're at a crossroads. They're just used to taking the path. They're literally getting on the conveyor belt that goes to the one side, then instead of the other. I think sometimes you need to know about where things are, and you have to decide. All right, if I keep going in this direction, I'm going to wind up here. It's pretty basic. But if I go in this direction, here's the risks. You do your little cost benefit analysis and try to push your boundaries at least a little. Okay. Because if you never push your boundaries, you are plateaued and you can't stay there very long without being bored. It's sort of like if you got a new house, and it was beautiful and it was worth, $100 million, you get used to that. So you're not challenged anymore. That's not success either. It's the movement. We are made to move. We are made to continue moving in a direction, until we can't.
I encounter this fairly regularly in the workplace. People whose attitudes are something along the lines of, hey, I've been in this a long time. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to change anything. I'm good as is. Leave me alone and I'll just do my thing. And that's that. That sort of idea that it's good. I'm a master of my craft and I don't need to move. What do you see? Like, first of all, you ever meet people like that? And what do you think they're missing, if anything?
Oh, everything. They're missing everything. And the main reason is because of what are the crimes I just talked about. What are they afraid of? Why are they saying I'm the best? Why do they have to say that? I mean, you don't walk around saying I'm the best. If you go, I'm the best at this, what good is that? Who are you talking to? You're talking to that person in you that doesn't think you're the best. It means you're not even convinced. So how are you convincing anybody else? I think it all comes down to that juncture, at least for most things. I find when you hit the wall where you cannot take personal accountability, that's where you need to work on yourself.
Yeah. I look at it as an unwillingness to look in the mirror.
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it. And what are you so afraid of? Okay, so it doesn't look the way you want it to look. So what? Who thinks they look in the mirror and go, this is perfect. I got nothing to change. You could be the best looking person in the room looking in the mirror and still have lots of flaws, under that little shell. It's the person in you, really, right? Great people who were horrible when you met them and you're thinking, oh my God, and then you find people that you probably wouldn't give, too much attention to just because they don't present well, but man, that was so much fun. And that's what it's about. It's not about what it's what you're given, because you should use what you're given, but it's more than that, if you're not given, you should give yourself what you're not given and then try to push that a little bit. You will be surprised at how much fun life becomes when you get on the road of personal growth journey. I don't think you can get, in fact, I know you can't get there unless you're willing to take the hard look. But what's so hard about it? What's really so hard about it? I got to tell myself I'm not perfect. Okay, let me start right now. I'm Bill W, and I'm not perfect. So,
You're kind of popping these illusions, right? We have these illusions and delusions. Like if we have a flaw and somebody sees it, we're going to be kicked out of the club. And it's like,
yeah.
wait a minute here. Who do you think you're fooling? First of all,
Right, right. And we all have them, nobody's at your very best, you're probably not what you think you are. And at your very worst, you're not what you think you are. You're somewhere in the middle there. We all are. Being aware of it, though, is probably the big thing. You kind of understand that. When you get a success, how do you handle success? Some people that go to their heads. Some people that don't have money go buy lots of stuff, and pretty soon they don't have
money again.
how many stories do we need to hear when we realize some people are just not good with money, right? But what does it bring you? Why did you think that would bring you success, bring you happiness? People with a lot of money would tell you it doesn't bring happiness. It's a utility. If you're great, it could make you do great things. If you're not so great, you'll probably not do such great things with it. You know what I mean? It's sort of, what do you want to do? How would you challenge yourself? You have to judge you, but you have to do it honestly. And that's the hard part for people. Not so much because they can't do it, but because either they don't want to do it or they're almost unaware of its importance because they're so used to just being on straight and narrow norm. And I think some of that has come into politics too today. I mean, I won't get into that, but I think that's kind of where the world is.
Yeah, I mean, I see organizations of all sizes, and I'd say one of the main limiting factors is the prevalence of fear. And that fear starts within, and then when we have a paradigm of not wanting to look at a place that we don't approve of, or something we feel guilty of or shamed of, or something a trauma that we don't want to relive, some sort of place of vulnerability, then we spend a lot of our subconscious trying to filter all of that out. And we're looking for shortcuts and solutions and techniques and ways to insulate ourselves from those negative experiences. And now we have all these, what I tend to call mind viruses, these ideas that don't serve us, but we think they protect us. I
I
was
think
just going
that's
to
a
say,
great way. Mind viruses. What a great way to put that.
yeah,
Seriously, that's
and I don't think it's something that's a character flaw. And I'm trying to explore this now. I don't quite have it figured out, but I'm not sure there's anybody that is mind virus free. I don't think it's a matter of getting it to zero. I think it's a matter of, like a garden, just making sure the weeds don't overshadow the flowers, right? We
that
we don't want
right.
most of our
No,
thoughts
I
to be
agree.
virus. We want them to be actual, like, authentic thoughts that are ours, not forced on us from some external force that's trying to control us.
So I'm just curious, like, what would you be an example of a mind virus
Oh,
in
I'd
your
say
way of looking?
this. We've been talking about a bunch of them. I'd say one would be something along the lines of, if somebody sees this flaw of mine, I'm going to be kicked out of the club, right? So that would
Acceptance.
be a mind virus, right? Because or if I say this thing, as a lot of it's fear based. Most of them are fear. If you could get rid of the fear based, you'd get rid of, I'm going to say, 80% plus of what most mind viruses are. Most mind viruses are we adopt them for defensive purposes, meaning we're afraid of something. So we have them as a protection.
It's in our programming. Yeah.
So it's like, if somebody's looking for mind viruses, what I would say is, what are you afraid of and why? And if you start
Mm.
trying, because I agree with what you said about, you can't fix that which you're unaware. So if you're going to make any sort of positive growth, the first step is awareness. And that awareness, you need some sort of look in the mirror, some sort of thing that you don't know now, or if you know it, it's buried under so many things you don't see it. You need that awareness as a catalyst as step one of whatever
Mhm.
change that you want to make.
So when you're presented with this awareness, are you starting to look at this awareness? Now you're at that crossroads, right?
Yes,
So what?
yes, exact.
Okay.
That, and Crossroads is the perfect. That's it right there. And that's what I love about that song and that story about the devil and the the crossroads. You could go this way or this way, right? And you can take the path of like easy short term riches, right? Here's the ability. You can be a phenomenal guitar player. Here you go, right? Or you can be, but it costs your soul.
Right.
That's one path. The other path is sort of harder work, slower go, more looking in the mirror, more working on your virtue, more like that. Then when you get down the road there, you realize, oh wow, what you said earlier, life is a journey, not a destination. Wow, that's actually true. This has been a great ride. And I was all focused on where I wanted to be.
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of right. I mean, it sounds like a Hallmark card, but it's so true, right? That life is a journey. If you think about that means that where you are, you're not where you could be. You know, you can keep moving in a direction, and that could just mean it doesn't. This is not monetary. This doesn't have to be about money or making money. It's just be about like an artistic goal. I need to become better at taking a photograph and enjoy the art of that. I need to become, just better at something. It doesn't have to be about money. It could just be, well, I guess there's lots of examples.
The money comes into play as almost like a meter of how many people see and are affected by your efforts in a way. And it's not a pure meter. It's not the only meter, but it is a meter of how
Yeah,
much how big is your reach, how many people are you affecting. It's a
yeah,
good
yeah.
indication in that way. I don't like to pretend that it doesn't matter or try to get
It
people
matters.
thinking that their focus on money is somehow wrongheaded. I don't think that's necessarily true, but what I take from what you're teaching us today, Bill, is it's not the only thing. So if that's what you're mainly focused on, you're probably unaware of some important things then.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I handle most of the business for Elastics, and which means I do most of the booking. And I've driven our rate up because I think that we put in the time and we should, and we can get it, we get it, and it's good. But I tell the guys, it's not really about the money. It's about money is the card. It just says, okay, they see what we can do here, and they're willing to pay for that. So it's I don't want to call it a validation because I don't think we're looking for that validation, but it's just a scorecard. It sort of says, right track, wrong track. But having said that, there are shows that are working that are not your best paying shows just because there's something you love about it and you can get out of it and just feel good or give something you can give even better.
Absolutely, because especially as it relates to like a musical performance, it's not exactly a torturous thing, right? It's a labor of love. So it very often it's not about the money. But it was funny. You reminded me of something that Dan Tracy told us when we were together with him, where he told us the story of he's a guitar player in the band Alan Parsons Project, and he has a band on the side that was a working band that they would do when he wasn't touring with Alan Parsons. He would do gigs like around the areas they live. He said, we would do weddings and we'd charge a couple $1,000s. And a friend of his told him, "You're charging way too little." And I think they changed their rate. They increased it up to, did he say 15? I think he said 15 grand or something like that. And he said we got busier. And
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that I think the same thing happened. Similar things you experienced with Last Licks too, where you've raised rates, but it didn't cost you business per se. And it's interesting that way.
no, it made people take it more seriously. No, it's true. Sometimes money does that too. The price of something is what you're willing to pay for it. So, uh, from a sales standpoint, how can you put value into it? First off, does it have value? Some value is manufactured. It's just called marketing. They make up things that just so slight in the nuance that it's just, and they blow it out of proportion. It's not worth anything but this, and even a sort of an advantage differentiating from the rest of the marketplace, some exclusive thing or whatever. That's all part of selling, but the core of that should be real. That's the point. Now, I won't pick on the competition, but there's a well-known brand, and everything I hear in these commercials, I go to myself, that's manufactured. That distinction they're bringing up is manufactured. There's nothing about that is a reality for a customer yet. Very good marketing, and so marketing. Going to go
That's
back to
times
the
most of the
political world,
political
and I'm
ads we
not
see.
discussing sides or anything. Oh my God, it's all marketing. I mean, they're thinking about who they're not appealing to, and that's who they're aiming at. I mean, it's not the
And a lot
message from the heart; it's the message from this is it, man. I got to be there. So that's what they do. That's how people
oftentimes
work, but
just
that's okay. I don't cite them.
yeah, well, oftentimes just no respect to reality whatsoever. Just whatever we need to say, that's what we do. And
Right.
well, we've covered a good amount of
So
ground
selling
here,
with
Bill.
virtue.
Is there some stuff you'd like to add as far as either the message of master virtue, master selling, or anything else that you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I would like to appreciate that time. I would like to say about this book. You can get it on Amazon if you want. It's called Master Virtue, Master Selling.
We'll put a link.
It
We'll put a
has.
link in the description.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah, yeah.
that. But it has sort of a center point that goes around a personality profile you can take, and that would sort of tell you which categories we think you fall into. But I just want to say I centered it around that. But even if big on one you're using, your personality, be it in sales and hiring and developing of salespeople, maybe you're using DISC or one of the others, right? Myers-Briggs. There's much of them that are very good and been around a lot longer than mine. But mine is called, even if you threw away Lee, you didn't want to work with Lee for whatever reason, you should still read the book because the book is still filled with good kernels of wisdom that deal with selling. And if you threw away all of the stuff about personality profiling, I would still read the book. The good thing about a good book is that you're shortcutting your time to be the most successful because you're learning from somebody else's experience and they're encapsulating that into something that they hand to you, like a little thing that says, is a secret to success. And if you look at it like that, you can pull stuff out of that book that can really help you in the selling world, and I think in almost any world, really. But selling is pretty much everything. Everywhere you go, there's something about selling. I mean, this podcast, in a sense, is selling. I mean, we're all selling. When I meet with you, we talk about experiences. We're kind of, I don't know if we're selling, but we're talking about things that matter to us. To us, we're passionate about it. Passion is, if you distill selling, your passion you have selling. So I'm just saying, read it simply because it's got good wisdom in it. Like most books written by people who have some experience, they want to share. I didn't write it because I wanted to share that. I think that's good. That's a good way to look at it anyway. So my two.
Well, I have read it and I think it's fabulous. I think it's very comprehensive. It gets you into the places of the mindset selling and recognizing that there's certain things that are universal that you have to do and certain things that you can lean into what your attributes happen to be and leverage those.
Mhm.
So I think that's good. I think a lot of I think it's been moving in a good direction as a whole. But in the past, it's been like, here's the sales system, or here's the thing that we know will make somebody go past this objection, and it's been sort of kind of manipulative in a way. But fortunately, it's evolving into a place where it's more genuine, authentic, person to person, getting to what's real, getting to where the value is. And your insights help somebody along that path. So I very much value that. So thank you, Bill.
I appreciate that. It's funny is I thought when I retire, what would I do? When I talk about my book and do things, and then I went to a few seminars and realized the people there are way better than what I'm bringing to the table here. But I still think there's great wisdom in that book. Like in our industry, there are people out there who just have this down, and you just go see them and you're all set. Really. So I'm
Yeah,
not
but that
new to
could
it,
be
but I think on a
that can be intimidating too. I remember I was kind of a fan of Gittimer. I don't know if you know Jeff Gittimer, but there's a bunch. I mean, this is since sales is such a valuable thing. There's so many people that come along this way. It's well traveled path. But anything
yeah,
that's going to help somebody sort of see what the reality is for them, get past resistance for themselves,
yeah,
help people get past their resistance for themselves, and make things happen that otherwise wouldn't. That's really what we're
right.
talking about here.
Yep, absolutely. So
Yeah.
it's kind of well, the economy needs salespeople because without no product move. That means the people that
Yeah.
pack the products in cardboard don't get to work, and the people that put them in plastic don't get to work, and the people that drive the trucks don't get to work, and what they buy along the way are affected by that. There's so many things.
Yeah, absolutely.
All lead back to some modes to take place in order to set that impact. That's all,
Yeah.
and that's selling.
Well, Bill, thanks so much. I really enjoyed this. I think we put a good episode here together, and I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
The time I'll see you on the next podcast for What Is Real.
There we go. That's it. That's what we're gonna do. Bill, thanks again for joining me today. It's always a pleasure. It's one of the nice things about the business I'm in is I get to talk with people that are new friends and some that are older friends. And I've known Bill for some years now, and he's one of my favorite people that I've ever met. And you might have gotten a little bit of a glimpse into why I feel that way from our time together today. But Bill shared a few really great things. He had that drive, whether it was from losing his dad early, and he felt like he had the one advocate that saw him and no one else did, so he had something to prove, or who knows what that looks like. We're not here to get into the deeper psychology on the individual level, but he did have this sort of drive. And then he also asked himself some pretty high quality questions like, why settle? I see these people, they sort of have freedom. They're not just sort of trading their time for money. They can do something else. Why can't that be me? I think that's a pretty good question. Uh, then when he did take that opportunity to go out into the world, you'd hear from people who are supportive. What if you fail? His uncle kind of said that, or you probably experienced that when you try something new. That people who love you might say, "Oh, maybe you be careful. Did you think of this?" They're trying to help, but they would ask, what if you fail? And Bill fortunately looks at a different question, says, what if you succeed? And perhaps that's a more powerful lens to look through. Those were good things. And he mentioned about quality, about the focus that we have on reality, and it doesn't go away. It's those things that keep cropping up. So it's pretty good to listen to those things. Probably one of the biggest lessons that I really appreciate here is he said, life's a journey, not a destination. I think there's a lot of wisdom there, and we talked a bit about that. And then when it gets into the virtue of selling and the ability to be successful in the world, it really does come down to a genuine desire to help people, really a genuine desire to be slightly better tomorrow than we are today. And if you have those two things, if you cultivate those two things, you're going to be, it's going to serve you well over time. So I appreciate all those insights. Very, very valuable. Thanks again, Bill, for being with me, and thank you for listening to Bill and I today on the Eye of Power podcast. This has been the Eye of Power podcast with Tom Dardick. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd also like to thank my brother, Scott Dardick, for the music and his music production. If you'd like to reach me, simply email Tom at dardickcommunications.com.